Today, Operation Antispruik in Greater Brisbane. Hello again, it's Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Welcome to this post covering finance and broader news with a distinctively Australian flavour. Well, we're still watching prices as reported on the portals dropping, and specifically in and around Brisbane, they're dropping fast. So courtesy of Cookie Boy, we're going to walk through some more examples. And I always say this is not scientifically selected. These are just ones that are appearing on the portals at the moment. And we'll also cross-correlate it once again with my core market model. And as I will remind you, if you want a conversation about a particular postcode or suburb, reach for me. My one-to-one service exists, so there's a cost involved, of course. And we can go into a lot more detail than I can in this high-level report. And so without further ado, let's start with postcode 4011, which is the suburb of Hendra. And here we have a house on 405 squares, 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2 cars. And it was listed 98 days ago on the 5th of July. Originally went to auction. And 45 days ago on the 27th of August, it was on at 1.656 million. 41 days ago, it was reduced to 1.49 million. And then 26 days ago, reduced to $1.448 million. And if we look at this particular postcode, again looking at my core market model, there are around 6,800 households in the postcode, 24% own outright, 37% have a mortgage, and 38% are renting. Mortgage stress is at 30%, rental stress is at 51%. And looking at our scenarios, the best case scenario, which is based on the assumption that inflation goes away quite soon and interest rates don't go any higher than where they really are now, shows a growth of about 2.3% over the next 3 years cumulative, so a very small rise. The base case, though, is that interest rates continue higher, and whilst we get recessions in the US and in Europe, we don't in Australia. And there's a fall of 21% over the next 3 years cumulatively. The worst case scenario assumes a recession here in Australia too. Rates go up, and then later they come down. In that scenario, there's a potential fall of 41% for houses. Now, looking at the particular postcode, 49% are houses, 39% are units, 11% are other types of property, including over shops and other commercial premises. The people ratio is 2.12%, and there were 7.9% or 560 properties vacant on census night last year. The gross investment yield is 4.7%, the net investment yield is 1.3%. The average taxable income is $122,000 according to the ATO, and the household census reported average taxable income at $109,000. Looking at the disposable monthly income, it's on average around $6,400, and those who are borrowing are on average paying $2,760 a month on their mortgage, which is actually 42% of their disposable income. That's very high. The average renter is paying around $1,790 a month, which is about 27.7% of their income. Here's another one. This is postcode 4017, Brighton. And this is a house that was listed 45 days ago on the 27th of August. It's 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 3 cars on 405 squares. On the 28th of August, it was on at 1.165 million. Now on the 7th of October, it's on at $1.099 million. And if we look at this particular postcode, 14,600 households in this area, 27% are owning outright, 46% are borrowing, 25% are renting. 44% of those borrowing are in mortgage stress, which is over 3,000 households. 73% of those renting are in rental stress. And by the way, I define mortgage and rental stress in terms of cash flow, money in, money out. If there's more money going out than coming in, they're in stress. And overall, households in financial stress is 43%. The best case scenario for houses is a growth of 2.9% over the next 3 years. The base case, a fall of 20%. The worst case, a fall of 41%. 86% of properties are houses, more than 11,900, 6% are units, and 7% are other types of property. The people ratio is 2.47, and there were 744 or 5.1% of properties vacant on census night. The gross investment yield was 4.7%, the net investment yield 1.2%. The average taxable income, according to the ATO, in the year 2021 was $78,000, and the average household census income was just over $100,000. The monthly disposable income from the census is just over $6,000, and the typical mortgage payment a month is $2,288 now, which is 38% of disposable income. The average rent is $1,944 a month, or 32.3% of monthly income. Now we'll go to postcode 4030, Windsor, and this is a house listed 64 days ago on the 8th of August. 8 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 4 cars on 698 squares. And on the 16th of August, it was on at $1.7 million, but on the 28th of August, it was reduced to $1.5 million. And looking at the data from our model, 8,000 households in the postcode, 14% own outright, 30% are borrowing, but 55% are renting. And looking at those with mortgage, 56% are in mortgage stress, 58% of those in rental stress. Overall, more than half of households are in financial stress in the postcode. Looking at the price scenario, the best case is a rise of 1.9% over 3 years, the base case a fall of 22%, the worst case a fall of 41%. There are 43% of properties as houses, just over 3,300, 51% are units, so there are more units than houses in the area. There are a small number of other types of property, over shops and other commercial premises. The population ratio is 2.05, 8.1% were vacant on census night, which is 688, and the gross investment yield is about 4%. The net investment yield, which includes covering all the costs of the mortgage and the other costs of managing an investment property, are 0.6%, so quite low. The average taxable income, according to the ATO, per individual is $94,500. The average household census income is $110,000. And the average disposable monthly income is $7,617. The average mortgage holder is paying about $2,640 a month, or 34.7% of their income, whereas the average renter is paying around $1,944 a month, or 25.5% of their income. Now this is another one in the same postcode, different suburb. It's a house listed 189 days ago on the 5th of April, and it's 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 3 cars on 810 squares. On the 11th of May, it was offers over $2.29 million. Now it's offers over $1.99 million. Now we'll go to postcode 4035, Albany Creek. And this was listed just 12 days ago on the 29th of September. It's a house. It has a gross rental yield of 2.82%. It's 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 3 cars on just over 1,000 square metres. And it was originally on the 1st of October at $1.299 million, and now it's $1.199 million. And looking at the postcode, we can see that there are around 9,900 households there. 32% own outright, 51% are borrowing, 16.5% are renting. 43% are in mortgage stress of those borrowing, 66% of renters are in rental stress, and overall financial stress is at 36%. From a scenario perspective, the best case scenario for the next 3 years will be a growth of 4.3% cumulative. The base case will be a fall of just under 20%, and the worst case a fall of just under 40%. There are 86% of properties in the postcode which are houses, very small number of units, and some other types of property. The people ratio is 2.73%, and there were 3.9% vacant on census night. The average gross investment yield, 4.6%, the net investment yield, 1.4%. And I'd highlight again that they said it was 2.82 gross rental yield, so not very well positioned at the moment. The average taxable income in the postcode is around $92,000. The average household census income is $127,000. And the disposable monthly income is around $7,200, with the typical mortgage $2,600 a month, or 36% of disposable income, whereas the average rent at 32.5% is $2,343 a month. Now we're going to postcode 4037 Eaton's Hill. This is a house listed 145 days ago on the 19th of May. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2 cars on 1,162 squares. On the 13th of July, it was on at 1.499 million. On the 17th of August, it was reduced to 1.35 million. And looking at the postcode, just over 2,600 households, quite a small sample, 23% owning outright, 66% are borrowing, and 10% are renting. The mortgage stress is 50%, the rental stress is 100%, but these are quite low counts, so I'll be a little bit cautious with those numbers. But nevertheless, the overall pressure is quite strong in that particular postcode. And as a result of that, the falls that we could see in the best case scenario is a small cumulative fall of just over 2%. The base case is around 26%. The worst case is a fall of 45% over the next 3 years. Pretty much all of them are houses, and the people ratio is 3.03. Very little vacancy on the night of the census. Typical gross investment yield 4.8%. Typical net investment yield 2.3%. Looking at the average taxable income, $86,000. The average household census income, $144,000. And the disposable monthly income typically around $8,100, with the average rent around $2,292, or 28.3% of disposable income, and the average mortgage $2,581 a month, or 31.8% of net disposable income. Next one is 4051, and this is a house listed 43 days ago on 29th of August, 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2 cars on 820 squares. On the 30th of August, it was on at 2.45 million. On the 18th of September, it reduced to 2.375 million. And going across to look at the data relating to the households, 11,800, with 21% owning outright, 36.9% are borrowing, 41.8% are renting. 31% of those with a mortgage are in mortgage stress, 54% of those renting are in rental stress, and overall 46% of households are in financial pressure. From a scenario perspective, it could be best case about 4% over the next 3 years, the base case a fall of 20, the worst case a fall of 39. 60.8% of the properties are houses, 6,782, 25% are units and some others as well. And the people ratio is 2.3, 7.1% or 858 properties were vacant on census night. Typical gross investment yield 4.6%, typical net investment yield 1.3%. The average taxable income is just over $103,000 according to the ATO. The average household income from the census is $120,500. Disposable monthly income is on average $7,774. The typical mortgage repayment is $2,675 a month, which is 34.4% of income. And the typical rent's $1,894, which is 24.4% of disposable monthly income. Here's another one in the same postcode. This was listed 251 days ago, and originally it was on at $1.8 million. It was then reduced 181 days ago to $1.75 million, 90 days ago to $1.6 million, and then 88 days ago, $1.55 million, which is where it's still at. It's a house, 408 squares, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2 cars. Now we'll go to 4053. And here we have a property listed 43 days ago on the 29th of August. It's a house, 406 squares, 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2 cars. On the 5th of September, it was offers over $1.35 million, now over $1.275 million on the 3rd of October. And looking at the postcode in more detail, 19,000 households, 24% own outright, 40% are borrowing, 35% are renting. Mortgage stress is 53.6%, or more than 4,000 households. Rental stress It's 59.4%, or just over 4,000 households, and overall nearly half of households are financially stressed in the postcode. Typical scenario is up 1.1% over 3 years. The base case is a fall of 22% over 3 years, and the worst case a fall of 42% over the next 3 years. Looking at the property mix, 76% are houses, 11% are units, and 12% are other types of property. The population ratio is 2.38, and there were just over 1,000 vacant on census night at 5.6%. Gross investment yield is 4.6%, the net investment yield 1.4%. Looking at the average taxable income, it's $83,000 according to the ATO, whereas the census reported household income at just over $111,000 a year. Monthly disposable income is just over $7,000. Typical mortgage at 35% is $2,476, and the typical rent at just over $2,000 is 28.9% of monthly disposable income. Next one is 4059, and this was passed in at auction 31 days ago, listed 49 days ago, and the price 35 days ago was $1.65 million, reduced 7 days ago to $1.49 million. It's a house on 202 squares, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1 car. And if we look at 4059 in more detail, close to 6,000 households with 14% owning outright, 28% borrowing, 57% are renting. 17% of households with a mortgage are in stress, 52% of renters are in rental stress, quite a lot of stressed investors, so overall more than half of households are in financial stress. Looking at the price scenario, cumulatively positive 4% over the next 3 years is the best case. Base case is a fall of 19%, the worst case a fall of 39%. 45% are houses, 47% are units, and there are other types of property there too. Typical population ratio is 2.09. 8.6% of properties were vacant on census night, 514, and the typical gross investment yield is 5.3%, whereas the net investment yield is on average is 2.3%. Average taxable income is $93,600 according to the ATO. The census reported typical household census income $100,000 per annum. Monthly disposable income is about $6,696 a month, and the typical borrower is paying about 42.7% of their disposable income, or $2,860 a month, for the mortgage. The renter is paying on average just over $1,990 at 29.8% of their disposable income. Now we're going to 4061, and this was listed 110 days ago on 23rd of June, with a gross rental yield of 3.52%. It's a house on 653 squares, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2 cars. And on the 19th of July, it was on at $1.2 million. On the 3rd of August, it was offered over $1.1 million. And looking at 4061, just over 6,000 households in the postcode, with 35% owning outright, 49% borrowing, and 15% are renting. 32% are in mortgage stress, very many are in rental stress, and stressed investors are showing up a little as well. So overall, households in financial stress at 37% is reasonably high. The best case scenario is a rise of 0.7% over the next 3 years, actually having dropped for the next 2 years and then recovering a bit. The base case is down 22.9%, the worst case down 43.6%. 92% of properties here are houses, and 7.1% other types of property. The people ratio is 2.72, and there were 238 or 3.9% of vacant properties on census night. Gross investment yield on average 4.4%, compared with the one advertised at 3.52%. Net investment yield 0.8%. Average taxable income is about $101,000 a year. The average household income, according to the census, $133,000 per year. And the typical disposable monthly income is just over $7,700. And the typical mortgage borrower is paying $2,700 a month, or 35% of disposable income. Typical renters paying $2,441 a month, or 31.6% of disposable income. Now we'll go to 4065, and here we have a property listed 62 days ago on the 10th of August. Gross investment yield just 2.49%. It's a house, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2 cars on 405 squares. Listed on the 30th of September at 2.4 million, now at the 10th of October down to $2.3 million. And here we have the details, just 3,600 households in the postcode, with 30% owning outright, 47% borrowing, 21% renting. Typical mortgage stress 27%, typical rental stress 50%, overall financial stress not too bad. As a result of that, the best case scenario is a rise of about 7% over the next 3 years, the base case a fall of 17%, the worst case a fall of 36%. 81% of properties here are houses, 9.6% are units and 9.4% are other types of property. The people ratio is 2.63, and there were 228 or 6.2% of properties vacant on census night. The gross investment yield was 4.7%, the net investment yield 1%. Looking at the average taxable income, $132,000 from the ATO or $176,000 from the census. Looking at the disposable monthly income, just over $10,000. Typical mortgage repayment is 33.8% or $3,380 a month. Typical rent, 24.9% of disposable income or $2,492 a month. Next, we'll go to 4066. This was listed 153 days ago on the 11th of May. It's a house, 406 squares, 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, 2 cars. And it was on at $2.5 million on the 14th of May, and now down to $2.3 million on the 3rd of September. And looking at the details, just over 8,300 households in the postcode, 20% own outright, 26% borrow, 52% are renting. And mortgage stress is 25% of those borrowing, rental stress is 66%, and over half of households are in financial stress. The scenarios are best case a rise of 3.8% over 3 years, the base case a fall of 20%, the worst case a fall of 39%. 32% of properties are houses, 64% are units, 3% are other types of property, and the people ratio is 1.93. 10.7% were vacant on census night at 942 properties, and typical gross investment yield 4.4%, typical net investment yield 1.1%. Looking at disposable monthly income, it's $6,909, and 37% of that is going to pay the mortgage at $2,556 per month. Typical rent at 29.6% is $2,044 a month. And the average taxable income is just over $100,000. The average household census data is just slightly higher at $104,000. Another one in the same postcode. This was listed 118 days ago on the 15th of June. It's a house on 759 squares, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 4 cars, with a gross rental yield of just 1.39%. Not very high, I think. For sale at $2.3 million on the 23rd of July, now offers over $2.1 million on the 22nd of August. Another one in the same postcode, listed 67 days ago. It's a house, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2 cars on 350 squares with a gross rental yield of 2.81%. And on the 21st of September, it was on at $1.75 million. On the 7th of October, dropped to $1.65 million. Another one in the same postcode, listed 50 days ago on the 22nd of August. It's a house, 759 square metres, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1 car. And on the 23rd of August, somewhere between $1.6 and $1.7 million. But on the 9th of September, it now offers over $1.4 million, so quite a sizable drop. Now we'll go to one next door, postcode 4067, listed 155 days ago on the 9th of May. It's a house, 405 squares, 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2 cars. On the 13th of July, 2.4 million plus. On the 29th of July, it was 2.3 million plus. And here's some data for the postcode. Just over 4,000 households, 25% own outright, 90% are borrowing, 54% are renting. And of those borrowing, 28% have mortgage stress, 54% of renters in rental stress, and over 56% of households overall are stressed. So the best case scenario is a fall of a couple of percent over the next 3 years. The base case a fall of 25%, the worst case a fall of 44%. And 32% of properties here are houses, 59% are units, and 7.5% are other types of property. The people ratio is 2.13%. 10.9% were vacant, or 480 properties on census night. Gross investment yield typically 4.5%. Net investment yield 1.4%. The average taxable income from the ATO $123,000. The average census reported $91,500, and the typical disposable monthly income is $6,100. Typical mortgage, 39.3% of disposable income, or $2,400. Typical rent, 33.5%, or $2,044 a month. Now we'll go to 4068. This was listed 69 days ago on the 3rd of August. It's a house on 1,070 squares, 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2 cars. On the 12th of August, it was offers over $2.35 million. Now on the 28th of September, offers over $2 million. And here we have just over 10,500 households, with 26% owning outright, 29% are borrowing, 43% are renting. 45% of those with mortgages are in mortgage stress, 50% of renters are in rental stress. Stressed investors are also very high, and overall 48% of households are in financial stress. The best case scenario is a rise of 2% over the next 3 years, the base case a fall of 21%, the worst case a fall of 42%. And looking at the property mix, 44% are houses, 47% are units, and 7.9% are other types of property. People ratio is 2.26, and on census night, 7.7% of 830 properties were vacant. Gross investment yield 4.6%, net investment yield 1.6%. Average taxable income $113,000 a year, according to the ATO, but according to the census, $108,000 a year per household. Disposable monthly income $6,924. Typical mortgage repayment $2,500 at 36.4% of household disposable income. Typical rent at just over $2,000 at 29.5% of disposable income. Now in postcode 4070, this one was listed 91 days ago on the 12th of July. It's a house on 7,264 squares, so a big plot. 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, 5 cars. And on the 18th of July, it was on at $1.495 million. On the 3rd of August, offers over $1.395 million. And looking at 4070, 4,000 households in the postcode, 26% own outright, 60% are borrowing, 13% are renting. And there are 29% of mortgage holders in mortgage stress, but a lot of renters in rental stress. As a result of that, the best case scenario is a rise of 1% over 3 years. The base case is a fall of 22%, the worst case a fall of 42%. And in this area, 96% of properties are houses, and just over 2.8 is the people ratio. 3.3% were vacant on census night, just over 130. And 4.6% gross investment yield, 1.1 net investment yield. Average taxable income per individual, $91,000 for households, $126,000. Average disposable monthly income, $7,553 a month. And typically a mortgage is 33.4% of disposable income at $2,520 a month, or renting at about 30% at $2,292 a month. Another one in the same postcode. This one listed 91 days ago on the 12th of July. It's a house on 12,000 squares, 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 6 cars. On the 15th of July, it was on at $1.595 million. On the 26th of July, offers over $1.45 million. Now we'll go to postcode 4075. This was listed 54 days ago on the 18th of August. It's a house, 406 squares, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2 cars. And on the 18th of August, it was at $1.35 to $1.5 million. Now, on the 27th of September, offers over $1.25 million. And looking at the postcode, 9,900 households there, 27% own outright, 42% are borrowing, 30% are renting. 19% are in mortgage stress, 78% of renters are in rental stress. And as a result of that, the best case scenario is a rise of 3.5% over 3 years, the base case a fall of 20%, the worst case a fall of 40%. And 71% of properties are houses, 14% of units, and 13% other types of property. The people ratio is 2.46. The typical vacancy was 5.6% on census night at 563 properties, and the gross investment yield is around 4.5%. Net investment yield is about 1%. Average taxable income, $97,000 a year from the ATO, or $116,000 from the census. Typical disposable monthly income, just over $7,000, with 36.7% going on the mortgage at $2,600, and the average rent, 28.1%, $1,993 a month. Now we'll go to 4078. This was listed 29 days ago. It's a house on 11,300 squares, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 2 cars, 1.55 million on the 13th of September. On the 16th of September, 1.35 million. And here we have 4078 with 9,000 households there, 20% own outright, 47% are borrowing, 32% are renting, 83% are in mortgage stress, 86% of renters are in rental stress, overall households in financial stress, 75%. As a result of that, the best case scenarios are full of about 5 or 6% over the next 3 years. The worst case, over 48%, the base case at 29%. 90% of houses in the area, small number of units, and some other types of property. The people ratio is 2.73, and the 4% vacancy on census night was reported at 369 properties. Gross investment yield is 4.6, net investment yield is 1.1. Average taxable income, just $69,000. The average household census income, $95,000 per household. Average disposable monthly income, $5,900, with 33.6% or $1,997 a month going on the average mortgage repayment, whereas the average rental is 31.1% at $1,843 a month. Now we're going to 4103, listed 122 days ago on the 11th of June. It's a house with a gross rental yield of 1.98%. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2 cars on 637 squares. And there are offers over $1.69 million on the 18th of July. On the 28th of July, it was 1.55 million. And it looks as though there might be a subdivision potential there as well, just to confuse everybody further. Now, there are about 6,600 households there, with 16% owning outright, 31% borrowing, and 52% are renting. Not much mortgage stress, but quite a lot of rental stress at 68%. Scenario is a rise of 6.3% over the next 3 years, best case, down 17%, base case, down 37%, worst case. 45% of houses, 38% of units, and some others as well. And that's, of course, over shops or other commercial premises. People ratio is 2.12 and 6.3% or 424 were vacant on census night. Gross investment yield 4.4%, net investment yield 1.4%. The average taxable income, according to the ATO, $80,000. The average household income, according to the census, $99,000. The typical disposable monthly income, $6,734 a month, with 35.6% going on the mortgage at $2,400. Typical rent, 27%, $1,819 a month. Another one in the same postcode, listed 54 days ago on the 18th of August. Gross rental yield of 2.83%. It's a house, 628 squares, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, no cars. And on the 23rd of August, offers over 1.199 million. On the 6th of September, offers over 1.089 million. Now we'll go to 4121, listed 72 days ago on 31st of July, a house on 680 squares, 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2 cars. On the 3rd of September, it was on at $1.495 million. On the 11th of September, offers over $1.4 million. And looking at this particular postcode, 9,800 households with 24% owning outright, 46% borrowing, 29% renting. And 27% of those with mortgage have mortgage stress, 53% with a rent have rental stress, overall financial stress, medium high. Typical best scenario, 6.5% over the next 3 years. Cumulatively speaking, the base case down 17%, the worst case down 36.8%. And 84.5% are houses, 11% are units. People ratios 2.55%, and there were 531 vacant, or 5.4% on census night, with gross investment yield at 4.7%, net investment yield 1.2%. Average taxable income is $97,000 according to the ATO, $127,500 according to the census. Disposable monthly income is around $7,721 each month, with 36.5% going on the mortgage at $2,821 and 26.5% going on the typical rent at just over $2,000. Now we're going to 4154, listed 36 days ago. Gross rental yield 2.88 to 2.77%. It's a house, 502 squares, with 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms and 2 cars, listed on the 21st of September at $1.55 million. On the 5th of October, now $1.35 to $1.4 million. And looking at the particular suburb here, 3,700 households, 20% own outright, 6% are borrowing, 19% are renting. This is quite a small count, so be a bit careful with some of these numbers here. 87% in mortgage stress and 100% in rental stress. That might be a bit high. And overall financial stress is pretty high. Best case scenario is a fall of about 4 to 5% over the next 3 years. Base case down 28, worst case down 47. 87% are houses, and the people ratio is 3.06, so one of the highest ones we've seen. Vacancy is 2.9%, just over 100. Typical gross investment yield was 4.2%, typical net investment yield 0.4%. So you'd expect that gross rental yield on that property at 2.88 to 2.77 would mean that property was underwater from a cash flow perspective. And if you look at the taxable income, $101,000 from the ATO, whereas the household census reported $158,000. Typical disposable monthly income, $9,700 a month, with $2,860 going on the mortgage each month, 29.3%, $2,542 a month, or 26.1%, going on the rent. Now we're going to Norman Park, postcode 4170, listed 74 days ago on 29th of July. Gross rental yield 3.91%. A house, 810 squares, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 6 cars. On the 23rd of September, it was on at 1.695 million. And now 1.6 million on the 7th of October, offers over. And here we have 11,400 households with 17.4% owning outright, 42% borrowing and 40% renting. 22% of mortgage holders are in mortgage stress, 49% of renters are in rental stress, and overall financial stress is sort of a medium level. So the best case scenario is a rise of 7% over the next 3 years, the base case a fall of 16%, the worst case a fall of 36%. And 56% of properties are houses, 22% are units. And the people ratio is 2.3%. On census night, 776 properties were vacant at 6.7%. And the typical gross investment yield in this area is 4.4%, typical net investment yield 0.9%. Average taxable income $97,400 according to the ATO, whereas the census reported a typical household income of $106,000 per annum. Typical disposable monthly income was around $7,800 per month, with 36.6% or $2,806 a month going on the mortgage, or 28.1%, $2,193 going on the average rent. Now 4171, listed 201 days ago on 24th of March with a gross rental yield of 3.41%. It's a house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1 car. On the 13th of July, it was offers from $1.25 million. On the 30th of August, offers over $1.1 million. And here we have 6,800 households with 22% owning outright, 40% are borrowing, 37% are renting. And 22% of mortgage holders are in mortgage stress, 67% of renters are in rental stress, and overall financial stress is getting a bit high. Scenario, best case is 3.4% over 3 years, the base case down 20%, the worst case down 40%, with 54% of properties houses, 31.6% units, and 14.3% other types of property. People ratio is 2.3, 7.4% or 516 properties were vacant on census night. Gross investment yield on average 4.8%, net investment yield 1.3%. Average taxable income $132,000 according to the ATO, or $147,000 according to the census. Typical disposable monthly income around $8,789. 38.2% on average going to the mortgage of $3,360 a month. Typical rent at 26.7% of the disposable income at $2,343. Now we're going to 4174, listed 110 days ago with an impossible gross rental yield. The house was 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2 cars on 3,642 squares. Price guide $1.75 to $1.95 million on the 11th of August, now $1.4 to $1.55 million on the 29th of September. And I should highlight that this is a very low count, so be careful with these numbers. Just over 1,000 households with 15% owning outright, 59% borrowing and 26% renting. Not much mortgage stress, but quite a lot of rental stress. Scenario is a small rise over the next 3 years. Best case, down 22% or down 42% base, and worst case, 95% of houses, and the people ratio is 2.6. 2.8% vacancy rate on census night. Typical gross investment yield 4.6%, and the net investment yield 0.4%. Average taxable income $74,000. Average household income $111,000 according to the census. Disposable monthly income around $6,700, with the typical mortgage $2,400 or 35.7% of disposable monthly income, whereas a typical rent of $2,142 is 31.8% of disposable income. Now we're going to 4178. This was listed 84 days ago on the 19th of July. It's a house, 468 squares, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2 cars. On the 19th of July, $1.55 million. On the 3rd of October, offers over $1.45 million. And this postcode has 10,800 households, 25% owning outright, 39% of borrowing, 34% of renting. Mortgage stress at 14.5%, whereas the rental stress is at 68.3%. Scenario is 5.5% over the next 3 years cumulative. Best case, down 18. Base case, down 37. Worst case. And looking at the property mix, 73% of houses, 11% of units. 2.34 is the people ratio, and the vacancy rate was 5.4% at 582 on census night. Gross investment yield 4.6%, net investment yield 1.3%. Average taxable income around $79,000 according to the ATO, or $95,600 according to the household census. Disposable monthly income around $6,000 per month. Typical mortgage at 39.8% at $2,400, and the typical rent at 33.9% of disposable income, just over $2,000. And now we're going to 4179. This was passed in at auction 31 days ago. It was then listed and $1.2 million firm, but then offers over $1.05 million is the current listing price. And this is a house on 799 squares, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 4 cars. And here we have 7,900 households, 30% owning outright, 44% borrowing, 25% renting, mortgage stress at 10%, rental stress at 56%. The scenario is best case up 8.2% over 3 years, the base case down 15%, the worst case down 34%. 79% of properties are houses, only a very small number of units, and the people ratio is 2.45. 5% were vacant, 394 properties on census night. Gross investment yield 4.6%, net investment yield 1%. Average taxable income just over $90,000. Average household census $108,000. And the disposable monthly income typically around $6,600 a month, with 38.5% or $2,548 a month going on the typical mortgage, and 31.6% going on the typical rent at just over $2,000. 4,500 is the postcode now, so this is 61 days ago. It's a house on 11,200 squares, 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 16 cars. On the 9th of September, it was on at $1.19 million. On the 28th of September, offers over $1.1 million. So if we look at the details, 16,600 households with 22% owning outright, 49% are borrowing, 29% are renting, 34% are in mortgage stress, 54% are in rental stress. Scenario is 6.8% over the next 3 years, positive, or a fall of 17% for the base case and a fall of 36% for the worst case. 85% are houses, very small number of units. The people ratio is 2.69. Vacancies were just over 600 at 3.7% on census night. And the gross investment yield is 4.4%, net investment yield 1.2%. Average taxable income, $73,500, according to the ATO, or $101,000 according to the census. And the disposable monthly income typically $6,257 a month, 34.2% going on the mortgage at $2,100, and 29.9% going on typical rent at $1,869 a month. Another one in the same area. This is a house listed 60 days ago on the 10th of August. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 1 car on 6,000 squares. And it was on the 16th of August, quoted at 1.3 million or above. On the 15th of September, now offers over $1.23 million. And that brings us to the end of this particular procession of price reductions. As I've underscored before, this is not scientific, it's just looking at what's being reported on the portals. And thanks again to Cookie for providing the basic data. So what do I see? Well, there are certainly falls across Greater Brisbane now. And in fact, the rate of fall does seem to be increasing, which is quite interesting. And I would note that these were pretty much houses exclusively. And of course, houses did have a big run up over the last couple of years, so they're coming down now quite fast too, which would suggest there are probably more falls ahead. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting. If you'd like to suggest another area where you'd like us to research, just put the comments below. I'm keeping a long list. I don't promise to get to them, but I'll certainly try. I'm Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Many thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.